Commander Jack Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of the Valiant, watching the stars drift past the view screen. It was a quiet night in deep space, the kind where nothing happened for hours. His crew ran their usual checks, scanning for asteroids and checking ship systems. Everything was normal, boring even. Jack liked boring. Boring meant everyone went home safe. "Commander, I'm picking up something strange," said Lieutenant Amy Chen from her station. She was the navigation officer, young but sharp as a knife. Her fingers moved quickly across her console, bringing up data on the main screen. Jack leaned forward in his chair. "What kind of strange?" "It's a distress signal, sir. Universal Language Protocol, coming from the Meridian 7 system, about 3 days away at top speed." Amy's face showed concern as she listened through her headset. "Sir, they're asking specifically for human help." That made Jack sit up straight. Humans had only been part of the Galactic Council for 15 years. Most alien species still treated them like dangerous newcomers, afraid of the violent species from the death world called Earth. Nobody ever asked for human help. They usually asked humans to stay away. "Put it through," Jack ordered. The bridge speakers crackled to life. The voice was high-pitched and fast, speaking in the clicking sounds of the Zeltharian language, but the ship's computer translated it into English. "This is Science Colony Meridian 7. We are under attack by Krelthar forces. Our defenses are failing. We have women and children here, scientists with no weapons. The Council species cannot reach us in time. We know humans are close. Please, we beg for your help. They will kill us all." The message repeated, and Jack could hear the fear in the alien voice. He had heard fear before, back during the border wars. It sounded the same in every language. Dr. Kevin Park, the ship's medical officer, spoke up from his station. "The Zeltharians are peaceful, sir. They're insect-like beings, completely nonviolent. Their whole species has never fought a war. They're scientists and artists." "And the Krelthar?" Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. "Aggressive? Expansionist? They've been attacking colonies in this sector for months. They use biological weapons, acid sprays, spore-based toxins, nasty stuff." Kevin's expression was grim. Jack made his decision quickly. "Amy, set course for Meridian 7, maximum speed. Kevin, prep the medical bay for possible refugees. I'm calling Earth Command." Within minutes, Jack was speaking with Admiral Ryan Baker on Earth. The Admiral's weathered face appeared on the private comm screen, and he listened without interrupting as Jack explained the situation. "3 days, you said?" Ryan asked when Jack finished. "Yes, sir. We can be there in 72 hours if we push the engines hard. But, sir, the Valiant is just one ship. If the Krelthar have a full attack force there, we'll need backup." Ryan nodded slowly, thinking. Jack could see the calculations happening behind the Admiral's eyes. This was a big decision, the kind that could change everything for humanity's place in the galaxy. "Jack, I'm going to authorize something we've never done before," Ryan said finally. "I'm sending the fleet, the whole damn fleet. Every ship we can spare from Sol system is coming to Meridian 7. You're going to have 47 warships backing you up, including the Thunderchild." Jack felt his jaw drop. The Thunderchild was humanity's pride, a massive dreadnought-class carrier that could hold 200 fighters. 47 ships was the largest human military force ever assembled outside of Earth's solar system. "Sir, that's a lot of firepower for a rescue mission," Jack said carefully. "I know what I'm doing, Commander. The galaxy needs to see what humans can do. Not to conquer, not to intimidate, but to protect. The Zeltharians asked for help, and by God, we're going to give it to them. Show them what Earth's defenders can really do." Ryan's expression was firm, determined. "The fleet will arrive 6 hours after you do. Try not to start the party without us." "Yes, sir. We'll do our best, sir." The communication ended, and Jack turned to his crew. They had all heard the conversation, and their faces showed a mixture of excitement and nervousness. This was big. This was the kind of thing that went into history books. You heard the Admiral. We're going to Meridian 7, and we're not going alone. Amy, I want every bit of speed you can squeeze out of those engines. Kevin, get medical ready for mass casualties. And someone wake up Captain Lisa Rodriguez. Tell her to get her fighter squadron ready for combat operations. The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as everyone moved to their stations. The Valiant's engines hummed louder as the ship accelerated, pushing toward the speed of light before making the jump to faster-than-light travel. Outside the viewports, stars stretched into lines as space itself bent around them. Jack watched the countdown timer on his screen. 72 hours until they reached Meridian 7. 72 hours until they faced an enemy that had been terrorizing this sector for months. 72 hours until the galaxy saw what humans could really do when someone needed help. He thought about Earth, that beautiful blue marble that every other species called a death world. They were right, of course. Earth was dangerous. The gravity was crushing to most species, the atmosphere was poison to many, and the wildlife could kill you in 1,000 different ways. Humans had evolved in hell, learning to fight, to survive, to never give up. Now that same determination would save an alien species that had never known war. Jack smiled grimly. The Krelthar were about to learn a very important lesson about Deathworlders. When you hurt the innocent, when you attack the defenseless, humans don't run away. They run toward the fight. The Valiant jumped to faster-than-light speed, disappearing from normal space in a flash of blue light, racing toward a battle that would change the galaxy forever. The Valiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Meridian 7 system, and what Jack Morrison saw on the view screen made his blood run cold. The planet hung in space like a jewel under siege, surrounded by a swarm of bioorganic ships that looked more like giant insects than spacecraft. There were hundreds of them, their hulls pulsing with a sick green light. "Count them, Amy," Jack ordered, keeping his voice steady even though his heart was racing. 218 ships, sir. All Krelthar design. They have the planet completely surrounded. Amy's hands shook slightly as she worked her console. "Sir, they're firing on the surface. I'm reading multiple impact sites near the main colony." Jack gripped the armrests of his chair. They were alone, one ship against more than 200. The human fleet wouldn't arrive for another 6 hours. But those scientists on the planet didn't have 6 hours. "Open a channel to the Krelthar fleet," Jack said. "Sir, are you sure that's—" Amy started to protest. "Do it!" A face appeared on the screen, if you could call it a face. The Krelthar commander looked like a cross between a mantis and a squid, with too many eyes and mandibles that clicked together when it spoke. The translation came through in a harsh, grating voice. "Human vessel, you are small and alone. Leave now or be destroyed with the Zeltharian weaklings." Jack stood up from his chair, making sure the alien could see him clearly. "This is Commander Jack Morrison of the Earth vessel Valiant. You are attacking a peaceful colony under Galactic Council protection. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The Krelthar commander made a sound that the computer translated as laughter. "One ship, one tiny ship from the Death World. Your species is new here, human. You do not understand power. We are the swarm. We are many. Watch as we crush your ship like we crush the insects below." The transmission cut off, and immediately the Krelthar fleet began moving toward the Valiant. Jack could see weapon ports opening on dozens of ships ready to fire their biological weapons. "Evasive maneuvers," Jack ordered calmly. "Get us closer to the planet, and someone tell Captain Rodriguez to launch all fighters. We need to buy time until the fleet arrives." The Valiant twisted through space as green, glowing projectiles streaked past it. Some hit, splashing against the hull with hissing sounds. Acid weapons, designed to melt through the lightweight alloys that most species used for their ships. The bridge crew waited for alarms, for warnings of hull breaches. Nothing happened. "Damage report," Jack called out. Kevin checked his console and laughed. Actually laughed. "Sir, their weapons, they're not doing anything. The acid is just sliding off our hull. Our armor is designed to handle re-entry through Earth's atmosphere. This stuff is nothing compared to that." Jack allowed himself a small smile. The Krelthar had never fought humans before. They didn't understand that when you came from a death world, you built everything tough. Earth's ships were designed to survive the worst conditions humanity could imagine. Alien bioweapons didn't even register. "Their mistake," Jack said quietly. "Return fire. Show them what human weapons can do." The Valiant's railguns opened up, firing solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The first shot punched through a Krelthar ship like it was made of paper, the kinetic energy tearing the bioship apart from the inside. The second and third shots did the same. Within 30 seconds, 5 Krelthar vessels were destroyed or crippled. The alien swarm seemed to pause, confused. Their weapons weren't working, and the human ship was killing them easily. They had expected an easy fight. They were wrong. Then the human fleet arrived. Space itself seemed to tear open as 47 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. At the center was the Thunderchild, massive and imposing, bristling with weapons. The smaller destroyers and frigates spread out in a battle formation that would have made ancient Earth admirals proud. "This is Fleet Admiral Brandon Cole to all human vessels." The communication came through on all channels, and the Krelthar could hear it too. "The Galactic Council asked us to be peaceful explorers. We agreed. But they forgot to mention that humans also know how to protect those who cannot protect themselves. All ships, weapons free. Show these raiders what happens when they attack the innocent." What happened next would be talked about across the galaxy for generations. The human fleet didn't just fight the Krelthar. They dominated them completely. Human fighters, piloted by men and women who had trained in Earth's crushing gravity, flew circles around the slower Krelthar vessels. Human missiles, designed to track targets through Earth's chaotic weather patterns, never missed. Human railguns fired solid metal that no biological armor could stop. The Krelthar tried to swarm individual human ships, hoping to overwhelm them with numbers. It didn't work. Human point defense systems, designed to shoot down incoming meteorites, easily destroyed the smaller Krelthar attack craft. The few Krelthar weapons that did hit human ships barely scratched the paint. Jack watched from the Valiant as the battle unfolded around him. It wasn't really a battle. It was a massacre. The Krelthar were used to fighting species from gentle worlds, beings who had never known real danger. They had never fought anyone from a death world before, had never faced an enemy that had evolved in constant danger, that had survived ice ages and supervolcanoes and extinction events. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface," Amy said. "The Zeltharian colony is asking permission to evacuate to our ships." "Granted. Tell them to gather at the main landing zone. I'm taking a team down." Jack stood and headed for the exit. "Amy, you have the bridge. If anything goes wrong down there, you leave without us. Understood?" "Sir, That's an order, Lieutenant." Jack made his way to the shuttle bay where Major Kate Sullivan was already gearing up the Marines. They wore powered armor, bulky suits that enhanced their already formidable strength. On Earth, the armor was necessary for heavy combat. In the lower gravity of Meridian 7, it would make them nearly unstoppable. The shuttle dropped through the planet's atmosphere, passing burning Krelthar ships on the way down. The colony was a mess of buildings with architecture that looked like it was grown rather than built. Zeltharians moved in panic, carrying their young, trying to find safety. Some Krelthar soldiers had landed, 6-legged creatures with slashing claws and acid-spitting mouths. Kate and her Marines hit the ground running, and the Krelthar never stood a chance. The aliens were used to fighting scientists and civilians. They had never faced professional soldiers from a death world. Within minutes, the landing zone was secure, and the Zeltharians began boarding the shuttles. A Zeltharian approached Jack, her insect-like body trembling. "You came. You actually came. We did not think anyone would help us." Jack looked up at the sky where the human fleet was finishing off the last of the Krelthar ships. "That's what humans do," he said simply. "We help." The battle was over in 6 hours. Admiral Brandon Cole stood on the bridge of the Thunderchild, watching the last Krelthar ships flee into the darkness of space. The display showed the final count: 174 enemy vessels destroyed, 43 running for their lives. Human casualties were minimal. 3 ships had minor damage, 12 people were wounded, and not a single person had died. It was the kind of victory that should have felt good. But Brandon knew better. This wasn't just a battle. This was a message to the entire galaxy, and not everyone would like what it said. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from all over the sector," said Lieutenant Danny Wright, the communications officer. His young face looked overwhelmed. "Everyone wants to talk to us. The Galactic Council, news organizations, governments from 20 different species. Sir, some of them are scared of us." Brandon sighed. Fear. Of course there was fear. Humans had just destroyed a force that had been terrorizing 3 sectors, and they had done it easily. To the peaceful species of the galaxy, humans must look terrifying. "Get me Ambassador Laura Mitchell at Council headquarters," Brandon ordered, "and find out where Commander Morrison is. I want a full report on the surface situation." Down on Meridian 7, Jack Morrison walked through the Zeltharian colony with Dr. Velkara, the head scientist. The insect-like alien gestured with her multiple arms at the damaged buildings and scorched earth. "They came 3 days ago," Velkara explained in her clicking voice. "No warning, no demands, just attack. We sent the distress call to the council, but they said help would take 2 weeks. We would have been dead in 2 days. She stopped walking and turned to face Jack. "Why did you come so fast? Why did you come at all? Most species would have let us die rather than risk war with the Krelthar." Jack thought about how to answer. "Because it was the right thing to do," he said finally. "Humans know what it's like to be in danger. Our whole history is about fighting to survive, protecting each other, never leaving anyone behind. When we heard you needed help, there was never a question of whether we would come, only how fast we could get here." Velkara made a sound that the translator interpreted as thoughtful. "Your species is strange, Commander Morrison. You come from a world so dangerous that most species would die there in hours. Your military power is frightening, yet you use that power to save people you have never met. The galaxy does not know what to make of you." "The galaxy will figure it out," Jack said, but he wasn't entirely sure he believed it. Back on the Thunderchild, Tyler Garcia sat in the intelligence office, staring at data that made his stomach turn. Tyler was good at his job, maybe the best code breaker and analyst in the fleet, and right now, he wished he wasn't so good. "Admiral Cole, you need to see this," Tyler said when Brandon arrived at his office. He pulled up screens full of intercepted communications and tactical data. "Sir, the Krelthar attack wasn't random. Someone gave them detailed information about this colony. Defense positions, population centers, evacuation routes, everything." Brandon leaned closer to the screens. "Who?" "I don't know yet, sir. But look at this." Tyler pulled up another screen showing long-range sensor data. "There's been unusual activity in the Vahari sector right next to here. Military buildup, fleet movements. Someone was watching this whole battle very carefully." "You think someone wanted to test us?" Brandon said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, sir. They wanted to see what humans could do in a real fight. They used the Krelthar and the Zeltharians like lab rats." Tyler's voice was angry. "Sir, I think we're dealing with something bigger than a random attack. Someone out there is planning something." Brandon nodded slowly, his mind already working through the implications. "Keep digging. Find out who. And Tyler, keep this quiet for now. If someone is testing us, I don't want them to know we figured it out." At the Galactic Council headquarters, thousands of light years away, Ambassador Laura Mitchell stood before the assembled representatives of 43 species. The council chamber was enormous, a spherical room where each species had their own section designed for their specific needs. Low-gravity species floated in bubbles, aquatic species swam in tanks, and Laura stood on a small platform representing humanity. "The council recognizes Ambassador Mitchell," said Councillor Vexnar, a member of the ancient Quarren species who looked like a floating jellyfish made of light. His voice was old and tired. "Please explain your species' actions at Meridian 7. Laura took a deep breath. She had prepared for this, but it was still intimidating. "Counselor, the Zeltharian colony sent a distress call. We responded. The Galactic Council's own charter requires all member species to provide aid in emergencies. We simply did what the charter demands." "You responded with a military force that destroyed 200 ships in a matter of hours," another counselor said. This one was from a species called the Paxtari, small furry beings who were known for their caution. "Ambassador, your display of force was concerning. Many species now fear humanity. With respect, Counselor, perhaps fear is not the worst response." Laura's voice was calm but firm. "The Krelthar have been attacking colonies for months. They have killed thousands. Everyone knew it was happening, and no one stopped them because everyone was afraid. Well, humans aren't afraid. We will defend the innocent, whether the galaxy likes it or not." The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some species supported Laura's words. Others demanded that humans be restricted, their military reduced, their influence limited. Vexnar had to call for order multiple times. Finally, the old Quarren spoke. "Ambassador Mitchell, the council will discuss this matter further. But know this. Your species has changed the balance of power in this galaxy. Change brings uncertainty, and uncertainty brings danger. Be careful that your strength does not become a weapon turned against you." Laura left the chamber with those words echoing in her mind. Back in her office, she contacted Brandon Cole. "Admiral, we have a problem. The council is divided. Some species want us as protectors. Others want us gone." "I know," Brandon said, and he told her about Tyler Garcia's discovery. "Someone set this whole thing up, Laura. Someone wanted to see what we could do, and now they're making their next move. Who would do that? I don't know yet, but whoever it is, they have resources and they're not afraid of the council." Brandon's face on the screen looked worried. "Laura, I'm keeping the fleet here for now. Something big is coming, I can feel it." He was right to worry. In the Vaharis sector, in a part of space that few species ever visited, the Dominion of Krell was preparing. They were an ancient empire, older than the Council itself, and they had been watching humanity very carefully. The humans had passed the test. They were strong, but not too strong, advanced, but not invincible. And most importantly, they would fight for others. The Dominion had a use for such a species. They would make excellent weapons once they were properly controlled, and if they couldn't be controlled, well, better to destroy them now before they became a real threat. The Krell Dominator, leader of his species, watched the battle recordings one more time. The humans moved so fast, fought so well, showed no fear. Yes, they would need to be dealt with soon. He began giving orders to his generals, mobilizing forces that had not moved in centuries. The galaxy was about to change, and the Krell would make sure they controlled that change. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began at midnight, which meant it was serious. Ambassador Laura Mitchell hurried into the chamber to find it already full of agitated representatives. The massive display at the center showed a star map with red markers spreading like a disease across several sectors. Councillor Vexnar's voice boomed through the chamber. 3 hours ago, the Dominion of Krell issued an ultimatum. They claim 5 star systems, including Meridian 7, as their territory by ancient right. They demand all Council species withdraw within 10 days or face military action. The chamber exploded into panicked voices. Laura felt her blood run cold. The Dominion of Krell was legendary, an empire so old that some species thought it was a myth. They had the largest fleet in known space and technology that most species couldn't even understand. And now, they were making demands. "What does the Council propose?" Laura asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Appeasement," said the Paxtari representative, his voice shaking. "We give them what they want. 5 systems is a small price to pay for peace." "And what about the beings living in those systems?" Laura shot back. "The Zeltharians just survived one attack. Now you want to hand them over to an even worse enemy?" "Better some suffer than all of us die," another counselor said. "The Dominion has never been defeated. Every species that fought them was destroyed." Laura looked around the chamber and saw fear in every face. The Council was going to surrender without even trying. She opened her communication link to Earth, requesting an emergency meeting with the government. Within hours, General Chris Patterson arrived in the Meridian 7 system aboard a fast courier ship. He was Earth's top military strategist, a man who had fought in every major conflict of the last 30 years. When he walked onto the bridge of the Thunderchild, Admiral Brandon Cole felt relief for the first time in days. "Tell me everything," Chris said without preamble. They talked for 3 hours, going over every detail of the Krelthar battle, Tyler Garcia's intelligence findings, and the Dominion's ultimatum. Chris listened carefully, asking questions, studying tactical displays. "The Council wants to surrender," Brandon said finally. "They're scared." "Of course they're scared," Chris replied. "They've never won a real war. Most of them come from safe worlds where the biggest danger is bad weather. They don't understand what humans know. Sometimes you have to fight. So what do we do?" Chris smiled, and it wasn't a friendly smile. "We build a coalition. Not everyone in the galaxy is a coward. Find the species who will stand with us, and we make them strong enough to win." Commander Megan Torres was chosen to lead the diplomatic effort. She was a special operations officer with experience in negotiation and combat, perfect for the delicate job ahead. Her first stop was the Thoraxian homeworld. The Thoraxians were warriors, a reptilian species from a high-gravity planet. Not as high as Earth, but close enough that they understood strength. Their leader, War Chief Kraxor, listened to Megan's proposal with interest. "You want us to fight the Dominion?" Kraxor said in his deep, rumbling voice. "Every species that has tried is now extinct. Every species that tried before didn't have humans fighting alongside them," Megan replied. "The Dominion is strong, but they've never faced anyone from a death world. They've never lost a battle because no one has been tough enough to beat them. We are." Kraxor studied her with his yellow eyes. "You believe this truly? That your species can defeat the Dominion?" "I believe that if we stand together, we can defend the innocent. Isn't that what warriors are supposed to do?" The Thoraxian was quiet for a long moment. Then he laughed, a sound like thunder. "I like you, human. You speak like a warrior should speak. Yes, the Thoraxian fleet will join you. Let us see if Deathworlders can teach the Dominion some respect." The Nexari collective joined next. They were a species of cyborgs, beings who had replaced most of their biological parts with technology. Dr. Alex Johnson, a xenopsychology expert, handled those negotiations. "Why do you want to help?" the Nexari Prime asked through its mechanical voice. "This conflict does not concern you. The Dominion will not attack Earth." "Not yet," Alex replied. "But empires always expand. Today it's 5 systems. Tomorrow it's 10. Eventually they'll come for Earth. Better to stop them now, while we have allies." "Logical," the Nexari Prime agreed. "But you offer more than logic. You offer something we find interesting. Your species survives through biological adaptation. You evolve to meet challenges. We evolve through technology. Perhaps together we can create something neither of us could achieve alone. Back at Meridian 7, General Patterson worked with the growing coalition forces, teaching them human tactics. It was harder than he expected. Most species thought defensively, trying to minimize losses and protect what they had. Humans thought offensively, looking for weaknesses to exploit and ways to win. "You have to understand," Chris explained to a group of Thoraxian officers. "The Dominion expects you to fight by the rules. They've won for so long because everyone fights the same way. We're going to fight differently. We're going to be unpredictable, aggressive, and we're going to take risks that seem crazy." "Like what?" one of the Thoraxians asked. Chris grinned. "Like drawing them into an ambush in the Tartarus Nebula. Everyone knows you can't fight in a nebula. Sensors don't work right, communications are scrambled, navigation is nearly impossible. No sane commander would try to fight there." "Which is exactly why we will," another voice said. Jack Morrison had entered the briefing room with Captain Lisa Rodriguez, the fighter squadron leader. "The Dominion is cautious. They rely on superior numbers and firepower. But in the nebula, numbers don't matter as much. It becomes about reflexes, instinct, and the ability to fight in chaos. And humans are very good at chaos," Lisa added. "We evolved fighting in forests, where you couldn't see 10 feet ahead, hunting in fog and darkness. Fighting blind is our natural environment." The plan came together over the next week. The coalition would fall back to the Tartarus Nebula, making it look like a retreat. The Dominion would pursue, thinking they had won. Then, in the chaotic, sensor-dead zone of the nebula, the humans would spring their trap. But first, they needed to buy time. The Dominion fleet was already on the move, sweeping through the outer colonies. Several species surrendered without fighting. Others tried to resist and were crushed easily. The Dominion moved like a machine, efficient and unstoppable. Tyler Garcia tracked their movements, building a profile of their tactics. "They're methodical," he explained to Admiral Cole. "They scout a system, identify all defensive positions, then attack with overwhelming force. They don't take risks, don't improvise. They follow the plan perfectly every time." "That's their weakness," Brandon said, understanding. "Perfect plans fall apart when something unexpected happens, and humans are very good at being unexpected." On the bridge of the Thunder Child, preparations continued. More human ships arrived from Earth, doubling the fleet size. The Second Fleet had been authorized, pulling vessels from home defense to join the fight. It was a massive risk, leaving Earth less protected. But as Admiral Ryan Baker said in his final transmission, "If the Dominion wins here, they'll come for Earth eventually anyway. Better to fight them now with allies than later alone." The coalition fleet assembled at the edge of the Tartarus Nebula. 60 human vessels, 30 Thoraxian cruisers, 20 Nexari drone carriers. Against them, the Dominion was bringing 300 warships, each one larger and more advanced than most Council vessels. General Patterson stood on the observation deck of the Thunderchild, looking out at the assembled fleet. Commander Jack Morrison joined him, both men quiet as they watched the ships move into position. "Do you think we can win?" Jack asked. Chris didn't answer right away. "The Dominion has never lost because no one has been desperate enough to try what we're about to try. They've never fought an enemy willing to risk everything. But humans?" He turned to look at Jack. "Humans come from a world that's always trying to kill us. We learned a long time ago that sometimes the only way to survive is to take the crazy risk, make the impossible play, and never ever give up. So that's a yes? That's a, we're about to find out." The Tartarus Nebula hung in space like a massive storm cloud, purple and red gases swirling in patterns that defied normal physics. Inside that chaos, the coalition fleet waited in silence, their ships hidden among asteroids and debris fields. On the bridge of the Thunderchild, Admiral Brandon Cole watched the sensor displays flicker and distort from the nebula's interference. "Contact!" Lieutenant Amy Chen reported from her station on the Valiant, her voice coming through the scattered communication network. "Dominion fleet entering the nebula. 300 ships." Exactly as intelligence predicted. Brandon took a deep breath. This was it. Everything depended on the next few hours. All ships, hold position. Let them come deeper. We need them committed before we spring the trap. The Dominion fleet moved into the nebula cautiously, their massive vessels gliding through the gas clouds like sharks through murky water. Their commander, Grand Admiral Thexarin, sat in his command throne and studied the sensor readings with growing frustration. "Where are they?" he demanded. "The Coalition fleet should be showing on our scanners." "The nebula is interfering with our systems, Admiral," his sensor officer reported. "We are detecting scattered signals, but nothing definite." Thexarin made a dismissive gesture with one of his forearms. "They are running. They know they cannot defeat us. Continue forward. We will hunt them down and destroy them one by one." He had fought 100 campaigns and won them all. The idea that this ragtag coalition could challenge the Dominion was laughable, especially these humans, the newcomers from some backwater death world. They had won one battle against the primitive Krelthar and thought themselves warriors. They would learn the difference between fighting raiders and fighting a true military power. The trap was sprung with perfect timing. One moment the Dominion fleet was sailing through empty space, and the next they were surrounded. Human ships emerged from behind asteroids, their railguns already firing. Thoraxian cruisers appeared from the gas clouds, energy weapons blazing. Nexari drone carriers released thousands of small attack craft that swarmed like angry insects. But it was the humans who shocked everyone. They didn't fight like any species the Dominion had ever encountered. They didn't maintain formation or follow predictable patterns. They were everywhere, moving too fast, attacking from impossible angles, doing things that should have resulted in collisions or navigation failures. Captain Lisa Rodriguez led her fighter squadron through the chaos like she was born to it. Her pilots flew without instruments, using their instincts and reflexes to navigate the sensor-dead environment. They had trained for this, practiced dogfighting in simulations where they couldn't see more than a few hundred meters ahead. For pilots who had learned to fly in Earth's violent atmosphere, the nebula was just another challenge. "Tiger Squadron, target that command ship," Lisa ordered, pointing her fighter toward a massive Dominion vessel. "Hit the sensor array, blind the bastard." Her squadron followed her in, missiles streaking through the purple clouds. The Dominion ship tried to shoot them down, but their targeting systems couldn't lock onto the fast-moving humans. The missiles hit home, and the command ship's main sensor array exploded in a shower of debris. On the Valiant, Commander Jack Morrison had an idea that was either brilliant or suicidal. "Amy, plot a course directly at the Dominion flagship. Maximum speed." "Sir, that's suicide," Amy protested. "They'll destroy us before we get close." "Not if they think we're running away first. Make it look like we're fleeing, get their attention, then turn and charge at the last second. They won't expect it because it's crazy." Amy looked at him for a long moment, then smiled. "Crazy is what we do best. Plotting course now." The Valiant appeared to break away from the battle, engines burning hot as it accelerated away from the Dominion flagship. The enemy ship took the bait, turning to pursue what looked like easy prey. Then, at the last possible second, the Valiant spun 180 degrees and came screaming back, all weapons firing. Jack's railguns punched through the flagship's shields at point-blank range. The kinetic energy from solid metal traveling at incredible speeds tore through the ship's hull like tissue paper. Secondary explosions rippled across the enemy vessel as the Valiant flew past, already turning for another pass. But that first strike was enough. The Dominion flagship's main reactor was damaged, power flickering throughout the ship. Thexarin found himself in the dark, emergency lights the only illumination as his vessel died around him. "Impossible," he whispered. "How can they fight like this? How can they see?" His tactical officer had the answer, spoken in a voice filled with new understanding. "Admiral, They come from a death world. They evolved fighting in conditions where most species would die. This nebula, this chaos that blinds us, is normal for them. Major Kate Sullivan led her Marines in boarding actions that the galaxy hadn't seen in centuries. Human Marines in powered armor breached Dominion vessels, fighting through corridors in zero gravity and low light conditions. The Dominion soldiers were advanced, well-armed, and experienced, but they had never fought humans in close combat. In the cramped spaces of a starship, human adaptability and aggression were overwhelming. Kate and her team moved through the Dominion command ship like a storm, clearing room after room. They captured the bridge in 15 minutes, securing the ship's command staff and preventing them from coordinating the rest of their fleet. The battle raged for 14 hours, and slowly the tide turned. The Dominion had superior numbers and technology, but the humans had something more important, the ability to fight in chaos. Every time the Dominion tried to organize their forces, human fighters would appear from nowhere. Every time they thought they had the advantage, human ships would pull some maneuver that should have been impossible, and the humans never stopped. They didn't fall back to regroup or take breaks to rest. They fought with a relentless intensity that the Dominion couldn't match. Because that's what Deathworlders did. They survived when they should have died. They fought when fighting was impossible. They won because giving up was not in their nature. When the Dominion fleet finally broke and ran, they left behind 163 destroyed ships and thousands of dead. The Coalition had lost 12 vessels, 8 of them human. There were casualties this time, 147 humans who wouldn't see Earth again, along with hundreds from the other Coalition species. Admiral Cole stood on the observation deck, watching recovery crews search for survivors in the wreckage. The victory felt hollow when he thought about the lives lost. General Patterson joined him, his face tired and sad. "We won," Chris said quietly. The Dominion sued for peace. They're withdrawing from all contested systems and recognizing Council authority. At what cost? Less than if we hadn't fought. The Dominion would have enslaved whole species. They would have kept expanding until they owned everything. Chris put a hand on Brandon's shoulder. The galaxy is different now. They know humans will fight for what's right. That knowledge will save lives in the long run. Days later, at the Galactic Council, Ambassador Laura Mitchell stood before the assembled species once more. The chamber was quiet, respectful. Fear had been replaced by something else, something like gratitude mixed with awe. The Coalition victory at Tartarus Nebula has changed our galaxy, Counselor Vexnar said. The Dominion of Krell, undefeated for millennia, has sued for peace. And humanity, the species we once feared, has proven to be our greatest defender. "We didn't do it alone," Laura said firmly. "The Thoraxians fought with courage. The Nexari showed incredible tactical brilliance. This was a victory for all of us." "But it was humans who led," Vexnar replied. "Humans who took the risks. Humans who showed us that strength can be used for protection rather than conquest." He paused, his glowing form pulsing thoughtfully. "The Council wishes to offer humanity a permanent seat on the Military Defense Committee. You would be responsible for training and coordinating forces across the galaxy." Laura considered carefully before answering. "We accept on one condition. We will never fight for conquest or oppression. We will only use our strength to protect those who cannot protect themselves." "That's not negotiable." "We would expect nothing less," Vexnar said. On Meridian 7, Commander Jack Morrison visited the memorial that the Zeltharians had built. It was a simple structure, a wall with the names of everyone who had died defending their world. 147 human names were engraved there, along with hundreds of others from the Coalition species. Dr. Velkara found him standing there, looking at the names. "We will never forget what your people did," she said softly. "You are the first species to fight for others rather than yourselves." Jack shook his head. That's not entirely true. We fight for ourselves too. We fight to create a galaxy where our children can grow up safe, where people like you can do your research without fear, where everyone, no matter what world they're from, has a chance to live in peace. You really believe that's possible? I have to, Jack said, because if we Deathworlders, who come from the most dangerous planets, can't make the galaxy safer, who can? In orbit above them, the human fleet prepared to return home. But they knew they would be back. The galaxy had learned what humans were capable of, and with that knowledge came responsibility. Earth's defenders would stand ready, protecting the innocent, fighting for what was right, showing the galaxy that strength without compassion was tyranny, but strength with compassion could change everything. The Thunderchild's engines flared to life, and Admiral Cole gave the order that would be remembered across the galaxy. This is the Earth Defense Fleet. Our watch continues. We stand ready.